Hello and welcome, this is Rooflemonger, and in this video I want to talk about some of the best moves in the game that aren't usable in competitive variations and thus are not usable in ranked online games or in tournament mode settings. There's a lot of moves that didn't make the cut, and some of them they're kind of wacky, right? Like this guy here, Kung Lao's hat just going all over the place, right? But some of the moves that are left out are not only downright decent, they're also super fun and can completely change the way the character wants to play. So I have in this video 5 examples of such moves. Now, the first of these moves I want to showcase is the Great Kung Lao, this guy right here. And if you're not aware of the lore, the Great Kung Lao is actually the guy who beat Shang Tsung all the way back in one of the original Mortal Kombat tournaments, and then set in the whole motions of the games as we know them today, right? So we summon the ancestor of Kung Lao, and in that we get a bunch of attacks. We get this, and we also get a ground pound. So these moves are actually really cool. So first and foremost, if you're doing this here, you can always cancel out of it, so you don't have to commit to anything, right? Now, to go into these moves here, so you can see from the special move list, there's actually quite a few options here. Now, one of them is a range option, but you still got quite a bit here. So the first one here, Soul Burst, is kind of a standard projectile. It is highs, and the closer you are, the more hits you will get. And if you manage to connect 3 of them, you'll get a crushing blow at the end. That's really cool. So once again, it's more of a harassment tool. If you try to use this from full screen, as you see here, it's not going to reach, right? But it does recover fairly quickly. If you only hit with the last little bit, you can see it's not going to do much damage. You are very much incentivized to use this closer up, and the knockback is pretty extreme, and it's just really neat. Now, the second of our moves here, we'll do the Upward Soul Burst, and this is just a straight-up launcher. Like, I'm not spending any meter on this or nothing here, and I can follow up after it just fine. It's just a nice little launcher. It also has a really decent hitbox. It can actually stop jumps if you just want to hang in the stance for a little bit and say they're inclined to jump at you. Then you can very easily catch them out of the air and then get your juggle and get your combo from that. It's actually really neat. At the animation, personally, the animation I think looks really sick. I just like these little explosions, juggling them upward and upward and upward, and that's really cool. Now, the star of this is the Ground Soul Burst here. This is the one you can aim. So you can aim it close, you can aim it far, just like many other moves in this game, they're aimable, right? And this move here is a true low. And that's for 11%. That's not nothing. To get hit by a low from full screen for 11%, that's not child's play. You got to actually pay attention. There's a little bit of wind-up, even if you do it fast as possible timing, right? But once again, as we explained, this being the good anti-air that it is, if you go for this and they're inclined to jump right away, you can just go, hey, hang on a second, then catch the jump, right? And yeah, man, this variation, this move, and this should be its own competitive variation. It's so cool. It's one of the things I was most impressed with when I saw this before the game launched, and when it wasn't made in one of the competitive variations, I was just incredibly disappointed. So Great Kung Lao absolutely should be in its own competitive variation, and just go from there. Because, man, it completely changes the way you want to play this character, which is should be the point of variations, right? And it's just fantastic. Now, moving on from the craziness of what the Great Kung Lao had to offer, we'll go a little bit more mundane here with Kollector, and we're going to be talking about the War Quote I don't know how to say it, but I just call it the Chakram, right? So the Chakram is an upgrade to the Bola. So the Bola, he usually does a lot of combos with the Bola, that kind of stuff, and it's just basically a strictly superior version. So first up here, the projectile itself is quite a bit faster. Also does a good amount of damage, 12%, as you can see here, right? So it's quite quick in that regard, and of course if you enhance it, then it becomes a capture state and you can get combos afterwards and all that kind of stuff, right? So if you are in the market to do combos, then all of a sudden you're going to be doing more than usual. Generally speaking, any given combo Kollector that you would do with the Bola, you're going to get a lot more damage with the Chakram. So this is the best case scenario for the most part for Kollector, and that's 34%, which is pretty good, right? Normally Kollector is not going to get anywhere near 34%, or usually even sometimes anywhere near 30%, right? So it's just basically a strictly better move of what is a critical move for him to begin with. It only enhances his game plan. It makes his basic zoning better, as the damage is really good. It also works in much the same way if you do a trade, and Kollector gets hit out of it, then you get the EX version for free, as they will be stuck in the move, because it only ends when he does that little motion with his hand here, getting the Chakram back, right? So if he gets hit, that doesn't happen, and they stay in the capture state, and you can do whatever they want to him after that, right? So it's just a strictly superior move to one of his most key and critical moves. So yeah, it just makes Kollector way, way, way better. For D'Vorah, I want to talk about this move here, the Bombardier Beetle. So just like many other moves, she kind of poops out a bug, and the bug goes and kills itself, right? So this guy here, he's a happy little guy, and when he hops up here, it's a nice little 80% mid. And, sorry, 80 damage mid, 8%. And if it manages to hit very close, it's actually 1% less, but it's a true low versus the mid it is when the guy has a little hop, right? So that's already interesting in and of itself. There's a lot of things, because once again, just like many of the bugs, she recovers quite a bit beforehand, right? So say if you knock the enemy down, they have no recourse to wake up, they have no defensive bars or anything like that, and you do this on them, the worst it can be is like plus 30 on block, if they choose to block it, right? And once again, it's a low, and then you can like do overhead shenanigans, or just let them block it, right? And at that point, after they block it, they have to submit, because it's plus 30 on block, they have to submit to low, overhead, and that kind of stuff, or, you know, can just wait him out and try to throw him, that kind of stuff. It's just really good in that concept alone, right? But we also can enhance it. And he enhance it when he is enhanced, he decides not to just jump up and explode, but rather to skitter across the ground and go for it. Now, the thing about D'Vorah is her ranged options are not amazing, right? Like, she can toss a little bug, and she has this guy here, neither of which are you're going to win like any kind of traditional zoning fight with, right? But with this guy here, since he crawls across the ground here, and he'll just keep going until time, you know, he hits something or he crawls off screen, right? And the fact you recover so quickly means you can do stuff like this. And just walk along with it, right? And once you have the threat established of walking along with it, it basically comes down to a couple things. If they choose to block, well then, hey, awesome. Once again, you're going to be like plus 1 billion, and then you can go from there. She has easy access to a lot of overheads and a lot of lows and all that kind of stuff, right? Great, fantastic. If they choose to, say, hit some sort of projectile, hit some sort of fireball, great, you can react and block, and because they're going to be in the animation, they're going to get spacked by a little dude here, right? And you get easy 7%. Awesome, fantastic, right? Now, the most likely option, at least on the Defender's player, the first time they want to see something like this, is like, okay, well, if you're walking along, I'm just going to jump at you, right? Or I'm just going to hit a button. And hitting a button, once again, if you just hit block, they get smacked. And if they jump, oh my lord, because their down forward 2 is really, 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 really good at stopping jumps. And also, if you get the crushing blow off the jump, which is very easy, by the way, she can get 47% mid-screen. And yeah, that's a nice chunk of change, right? And if you want to compare it to, say, Street Fighter, right? This is very similar to, like, Guile walking along with a Sonic Boom. He does light Sonic Boom, starts walking with it, and a lot of the threats that are pertinent to Guile kind of hold true. You want to try to react and hit buttons, you get smacked. And, of course, if the guy hits, you can definitely combo after it as well, by the way. So you can definitely, you know, get combo follow-ups reacting to the little guy getting his hit in. So that's something else just keep in mind. But it just forces people to make basically bad decisions, because this is inexorable. It's going to happen. And basically how people react and deal with it is how you're going to go. So yeah, the little Bombardier Beetle, I think, is a fantastic move. And if you put it in a competitive variation for D'Vorah, it could definitely change things up. Alright, so I already know what you're thinking. Sonya, right? She doesn't need any more help than what she's got. Yeah, Sonya is admittedly top tier. She's admittedly one of the better characters in the game, to be sure. But that doesn't mean she doesn't have one of the coolest friggin' moves in the game. And that is the K.A.T turret, which once again, obviously, is not in the competitive variation. So she summons a little robot buddy, and little robot buddy, he can do some stuff. He's got all sorts of gunshots, a mortar shot here. You can detonate him and self-destruct. He even has a crab. It's technically actually an overhead, but still. And also, It's really cool. Just a little detail. She salutes while he's doing it, which I think is really cool. But yeah, this guy could make a whole variation in and of itself. That'd be super fun. The one thing about the cat robot is a lot of times when you're doing stuff here, you actually recover before the animation's finished, right? So you can do a lot of stuff here. Like he can shoot, then you can shoot. He can shoot, you can shoot, like that kind of stuff. Like there's a lot of fun offense. And also Sonya being a very high pressure character, with the detonate, if you're in the corner, while it's self-destructing, you can do whatever you want, right? So you can do mix-ups and all that kind of stuff while you have the threat of the detonation going off here. And it does quite a bit of damage on detonation here. That's just straight 10%, right? And that's not nothing. Not the least of which here is you can catch them after the detonation and just, you know, combo out, right? So it's just really cool. It turns her into a more of a zoning character, yes, and I know all about the Sonya complaints, right? Because she certainly has some of the best zoning in the game, despite normally being a up-close mix-up monster. But still, this move is too cool not to be used in a variation, just like the mortars, the gunshots here. The fact that you can supplement it with your own stuff, it just is really neat. And this little guy's got a lot of personality. I like this little guy here. So this absolutely should be its own competitive variation and would wildly change the way you want to play Sonya, which once again is the point of variations. So I hope this eventually one day makes it into a competitive variation. The final move I want to talk about here is Core Trap for Frost. Now, they know this move's already strong off the bat, right? It comes with the cost of 1 offensive bar off the bat, and hey, the results are pretty immediate, right? If you played Injustice 2 at all, it's actually quite similar to Captain Cold's style of move. Now, while you're actually in the middle of this here, you're fine. It's actually the angles of the trap here would actually get you. If you're actually in here, it's all good. You don't got to worry too much here. But as soon as you get caught on the edges, then you get frozen right quick here, which can definitely lead to panicky moves, to bad moves, and lets her just kind of really play a crazy trap. Now also, she's allowed to aim this, so she can put this far away, she can put this close. Now, keep in mind, though, it actually will not detonate if the enemy is not in the area. So if you miss, you basically burn the bar for nothing. You definitely want to get it, but you can do a lot of fun stuff with this here, because like say you're in the corner and you just get like whatever, you can then easily turn this into a setup. This is basic no aim trap, and it perfectly lines up, as you can see there. So the enemy is gonna panic, to say the least, right? And if they panic, probably the first response is gonna be, hey, I'm gonna jump. And at that point, you can just down 3 the jump and keep them in there, and they'll get frozen and get a combo, that kind of stuff. It's just really would change up the way she plays. I think it's a cool move. I think it's a well-designed move. Heck, it could be even busted. I don't know, right? We'd have to let the competitive players to see and let the dice fall where they may on that one, right? But I think this is a downright cool move, and considering, just kind of some of the ho-humness of some of her other moves, the fact that this isn't in a competitive variation, I think is just a dang shame. So yeah, that's just some of the moves that are not in the competitive variations I think would be fantastic. If you're not aware, one of the bigger complaints from the competitive community is, there's too many good moves that aren't competitive variations, and sometimes some of the variations are put together, let's just say a bit oddly, right? And I hope that is not going to be the way it is forever. They have said in time they will add more competitive variations. Of course, in time, it could be 2 weeks from now, it could be 2 years from now, who knows when, right? But I would like to see some of these moves in competitive variations that we can use in ranked, we can use in tournament mode sooner rather than later. Anyways, let me know what moves you think would actually make good competitive variations, and that's it for me. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well. Go out and play some Mortal Kombat.